In China, from the Opium War until 1940, different attitudes towards smell were involved in the interplay of power relations between China and the West. These differences opened up a window to showcase colonial modernity's power. During this period, China's range of odors were often deemed unfamiliar and unpleasant to the Western nose. Westerners were distracted by the smells of vapors of manufacturers, odors arising from the preparation of food, the smell of animals, from offal, and from common sewers. Sanitation and deodorization quickly became high on the colonizers' agenda. The preoccupation of the Western colonizers with deodorizing and imposing an hygienic modernity to the foreign settlement in China emerged in the context of an increased degree of cleanliness in the Western world. The emanation of unpleasant effluvia dispersed in the atmosphere was considered to be the origin of various epidemic diseases. It dramatically lowered the thresholds of olfactory tolerance and suggested a direct association between these odors and death. In response to that fear, the British colonial administration in China pushed the olfactory norms of the modern West with the aim of taming the Chinese stench by imposing laws to restrain odors and to establish a public health administration system supported by the Chinese elite. However, more recent scientific theories now propose that extremely clean household environments fail to provide sufficient exposure to germs required to educate the immune system so it can learn to launch defensive responses to infectious organisms. Interestingly, the hypothesis relates China's poor sanitary condition to the surprisingly good health of the population. Sensory perceptions are highly personal and rely largely on individual and social habits. For most pre-colonial Chinese, the odors of pre-colonial China did not constitute an unbearable nuisance. These were the natural backdrop to their everyday lives, and the Chinese were accustomed to such odor. Through the lens of power relations, only the Chinese elite and colonists benefited from the deodorized environment. The establishment of a public health administration system brought extra taxation to peasants, and the additional requirements for night soil treatment naturally meant extra costs and increased night soil prices. So the peasants paid for the improved olfactory environment of a city which they could not enjoy. It has the Western colonizers who wielded power in various forms, who tried to impose their sensibilities on the people. It was the Western colonizers. Behind the new sensibilities lay a series of ideas, conceptions, and theories that fell into the category modernity. Power and social control not only penetrated visible social institutions, but also a subtle and invisible, it also penetrated visible social institutions, but also subtle and invisible sites such as senses and sensibilities. However, for the colonists seeking adventurous, dark exoticism, there were the opium dens. The opium dens were places available to people of all different economic backgrounds. To Westerners and the Chinese elite, the dens were considered filthy and smelly, but these odors obtained an inverted moral aspect, as if the pleasures underground were sure signs of degeneracy. People who could easily buy the purest opium and afford a clean pipe seemed to prefer to go to the filth of a smelly low den to experience the debauchery and the culture around it. The dens worked in the dim light of only a lamp or two. The smellscape that accompanied the dens was not only filth, but a mix of incense as well as an odor of earth and burning chestnuts and smoke. The opium itself emanated an odor of ammonia as well as a peppery and herbal aroma.